This segment brought to you by Sure Crop, liquid crop nutrition delivered right to your farm.
We're back. Now let's talk U.S. meat exports with Kyle Bauer and Philip Seng with the U.S. Meat Export Federation.
Hi, this is Kyle Bauer reporting from Anaheim, California. I have the opportunity to visit with Philip Seng. He's CEO Emeritus of the U.S. Meat Export Federation. Philip, if you would let folks know what the U.S. Meat Export Federation does.
Well, the U.S. Meat Export Federation is a federation that works to promote U.S. beef, pork, and lamb in the international marketplace. We were started about 40 years ago. Just a year and a half ago, we celebrated our 40th anniversary. And we've worked basically with in about 100 countries all over the world and in practically every hemisphere and in every continent. And we're comprised of a diversity of membership. So we have the beef and the pork and the lamb industry. We also have basically packers, exporters, we have processors, purveyors, and traders. We also are comprised of corn and soybean producers. Those organizations basically understand the value of the feeding the cattle, feeding the pork, and what a market is the cattle industry and the pork industry is for U.S. grain. And then we also have agribusiness interests, for example, and also like farm organizations. So we're an amalgam of a lot of different organizations coming together for the single purpose of trying to export more product. And it's been very successful over the last 40 years. Just last year alone, we almost exported $14 billion worth of product internationally. So it's been very successful over the years.
And when you break that out per animal, it's very significant for every animal that's processed.
Yeah, rounded numbers, we export about, if you look at our fed steer or fed cattle, it'd be about $250 a head would be the export dividend. If you look at pork, it'd be about $50 is the export dividend. We export about 28% of our pork production. We export close to 15% of our beef production. And if you took beef byproducts like hides and skins and some of these other types of things, it's even more than that. It's closer to almost 20%. So it's really made a difference to the profitability of the producer, the fact that we're exporting as much product as we are internationally.
How are those trends? I mean, do we see strong demand in our foreign exports?
Well, I think that's really the thing. Right now, you're starting to see in a lot of these markets growing interest in protein. For the longest time, you've had countries that have been more cereal based, if you will, and now as their GDP grows, as their buying power grows, they're trending from the cereals to the proteins. So for example, you look at Asia, by the year of 2030, it's predicted that 65% of the world's middle class or the GDP will be in Asia, in the Asia Pacific. That's why TPP is so important. And so if we can meet that trend with our protein, basically, this is just a great place to be. So that's why we're looking now at the future, and we're looking now at where some of these opportunities exist far into the future.
And certainly exports direct those dollars to rural communities. It is a value-added factory out there, those livestock facilities.
Well, yes, it's very value-added. I mean, we grain feed our beef and our pork, of course, and so you add that value. And plus, the nature of the international markets are becoming more branded-oriented. They're becoming more high-value-oriented. If you go to markets like Japan and Korea, they're looking at buying some of the highest prices and the highest valued products you can produce. For example, certified Angus beef in the international market does almost twice the velocity of sales that it does in the United States because there's just that demand that's out there. So if we have market access, and if we can have, again, the support of our U.S. government and the support of the producers in this quest to move more protein internationally, I think there's infinite possibilities for producers.
We're visiting with Philip Seng. He's CEO Emeritus of the U.S. Meat Export Federation. This is Kyle Bauer reporting from Anaheim. Back to you, Jamie.
Thanks, Kyle. Come back after these messages for the Kansas Farm Bureau update.
Welcome to Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in Oakley, Kansas on I-70 at exit 76. I-70, after all, is America's Main Street, and we're right here on Main Street for you. now that I'm an Oakley resident, I still come in almost every day. And I sit and listen to the conversations of the people around me. You know, the guys who are talking about the big elk they just bagged, or the folks who are taking their kid to college for the first time. People just traveling up and down the highway. Real people, just like you and me. And they find just what I find here, real people to serve them. There's history, there's scenery. We hope you'll stop and see us soon. Welcome to Oakley.